खंडमंडलाकारं व्याप्तं चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनं शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। My salutations to Adinath, Sadashiv, Achendranath, Gorakhnath, my own Guru Maheshwaranath Babaji, and Nitanath, also known as Adinath. Normally, now I stand before you, I don't have the rings, which is the traditional attire of our sampradaya, nor the chumta, which of course I have to keep somewhere. They don't allow it in the aircraft. And the dhuni also is not before me, although the inner dhuni is still alive. First of all, let me take the permission of His Holiness Guru Maharaj, who is here, Yogi Ramnath Ji, who spoke just now, Dr. Manmat Garote, who organized this and who is himself a yogi in his own right, Shri Suryanath Ji, who was sitting in front of me, Dr. Satyapal Singh, Dr. Chandrakant Pandav, Nath Bandhus, who I am sure are here, visible or invisible, dignitaries whose name I do not know, whom in the audience, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. Normally, when I come for a talk, I don't go for talks, we have satsang. Dr. Manmat Garote insisted that I should come. We generally have satsangs which people sit together, we have a discussion. And usually I don't come with any preparatory note. Today I was awed by the subject, so I took some notes. Because it deals with the Nath Parampara in one way, and I don't want to commit mistakes. Because if Maheshwaranath Ji, my Guru, was here, I would have been thoroughly scolded for making a mistake. The Naths are kind at heart but very strict disciplinarians. Now, I also must tell you that people call me M. I will finish in my time, don't worry. I am also called, I'm called M. Many people say Shri M and so on. Shri is not necessary, M is good enough. One is because the name given to me by Maheshwaranath Babaji was Madhukarnath. So that is the name. Apart from the name with which I was born. And above all, I think I remember Maheshwaranath Babaji, my Guru, with that M. And also that M means Manushya, human beings, cutting across other barriers which are man-made, created. So, and this place in Maharashtra is so fortunate to have great Nath Sampradaya here. You can see Jnaneshwar, whose Samadhi is in Alandi, whose Guru Nivritinath, then Ghaininath. Even the Sai Baba of Shirdi we love to call Sainath, because he had a chumta and a dhuni. And then the Dattatreya Sampradaya, Triambakeshwar, where I'm sure many people would be aware even though it's supposed to be belonging to the Dattatreya Sampradaya. The Nath Panthis gather every once in 5 years to have their initiations in Triambakeshwar. I won't go into the technical details of the Gorak Sampradaya because there are many qualified people who will do that. But I will go into the question of why practice yoga at all. Because the Shruti, the Upanishads, have given the truth. So why practice any kind of yoga at all? Why should there be a sampradaya? The truth is, the declarations of the Upanishad and the Shruti declare the truth, but the method to reach that truth is something to be found from a guru, from a teacher. Just by reading, if I keep saying Aham Brahmasmi all the time, I might be put in the asylum. To understand what it means, there is a sadhana, there is a kriya, there is a... And these are guided by a parampara. Without the guidance from the gurus and the parampara, it is difficult to grasp this great truth which has been said in the Upanishads. You can't simply hear it and say, I know it. Therefore, the practice of yoga. Now, what does it mean? When the Upanishad says, Na chakshusha na pashyati yena chakshumsha pashyati tadeva brahmatvam vidvi nedam yat idam upasate. When the Upanishad makes such a statement, or yan manasana manyute yanahur manomatam tadeva brahmatvam vidvi nedam yat idam upasate. Now, if something cannot be reached seen by the eye, cannot be reached by even the mind, as the Upanishads declare, what is the use between that truth and me, because I can never find it? Is that the truth? Then it is of no consequence for us. The thing is that the great rishis who sang the Shruti were great yogis themselves. You see, even an artist rendering of a rishi, the rishi sits in Padmasana or Siddhasana. Why? He can sit in an armchair. I'm not saying there are no yogis who sit in armchairs, that's a different matter. Which means certain preparations have to be taken before these eternal truths are understood. I'm trying to look into that, the practical aspect of it. This is because our entire life, all the experiences in our life are managed and controlled by the mind. You can call it the brain if you like. We don't want to go into that discussion right now. Brain and mind are different. Let's say the mind or brain now. Now so every one of us says that we have a rational framework with which we operate. Everybody is proud to say I'm very rational. I have a rational framework with which I operate. And very often we also think it is perfect. Now the fact is, when you are a child, when I am a child, I have a certain rational framework. When I grow up, my rational framework changes because I have more experiences. And then again I move forward and I get more experiences and my so-called rational framework is changed. So the inputs which I get as I grow older, from school to college to nuclear physics, change. When you are in college, you think you know all about physics. When you have reached a center where you are taught quantum physics, say Austin University, then you begin to doubt if you really know much about matter, about physics. Because one of the leading theories of physics today is the theory of probability, or the theory of uncertainty. So even the beginnings are mired in uncertainty. Nobody knows the basic element is a particle or a weight. That's where we stand. So when you move forward and gather knowledge, our cocksureness is broken to bits. And what we thought we knew, the rational framework, is broken. And a new framework emerges, if it can. Now, what is the basis by which we form our so-called rational framework? What is the basis? The basis is only the data available to us through the five senses. We have no other data. All of us have only five senses, panchendriyas. So all the data that we gather from this world is only from the panchendriyas. We have no other way. We can see, we can smell, we can hear, we can touch, and we can taste. That's it. Well, we can laugh, but we'll come to that. So, these five senses are, by their very nature, incomplete in gathering the data. Some of them may be even illusionary. I give you a very simple example. Every morning we see the sunrise. Every evening we see the sunset. That's what our eyes says, Chakshu. It is our pratyaksha anubhava, it's our actual experience. But does the sun rise or does the sun set? No. But we believe it. Why? Because that is the data provided to us by one of our sense organs, Indriyas. Therefore you see that the data gathered by the sense organs, the panchendriyas, with which we function, all of us, most of the time, is first of all defective and in some cases hallucinatory also, unreal also. Another example, you hear a bell and you think now the bell has stopped, but the sound of the bell has not stopped. It's going on in very subtle form. Our ears, our shrotra, the ears don't have the sensitivity to listen to those subtle sounds. It's not that the sound is not there. So, I'm trying to say that all our sense organs or panchendriyas have very limited capability and capacity, and all the data that the mind collects is therefore limited. And then through that limited data, it forms your rational framework. So how limited can it be, however much it is? And we are saying, the great yogis said, great rishis said, that there are other organs of perception, other instruments of perception in the human system which are generally not active in most people. The entire practice of yoga, or whatever path that you follow, is to awaken these hidden faculties which are in us. When they awaken, what happens? You are suddenly armed with instruments of perception which can get data which cannot be got by the five senses. And when this is processed by the mind, it's a multi-dimensional being that emerges from it. Because the axis is now become wide. the consciousness is able to extend much beyond what the five senses. Actually, even physical practice of Yoni Mudra, you physically shut the senses. Now that is, we are not going into the practical aspects, because I just want to say this, that this is the basis of saying that theory is not enough. Because what we are searching for is something which cannot anyway be described by theory. Yad vachana abhyutitam yanavak abhyutyate tadeva brahmatvam vidvi niramyatidam upakenopanishad. That which words cannot express, words cannot define, but which is the basis of sound. That alone is the truth. Now how do we find that? With words or with theories? We can only say now as we are talking. But unless the experiential or the anubhava is there, it's not possible to grasp what is being said. We can read, we can memorize, and as I said before, I can say Aham Brahmasmi, terrible thing to say, unless you know what you are doing. And if you say that many times in the house, you will probably get a divorce. I'm a family man, so I'm telling you. So, in fact, the best way to touch that probably is to get rid of that aham. When the aham is not there, perhaps the Brahman is there, we don't know. So, this is why the practice of yoga comes into the picture. So yoga is not merely like, you can't differentiate as Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga and so on. Yoga as such, as taught by the Naths. You know why Naths? Because without the presence of the great Nath Sampradaya, starting from Adinath, who is of course identified with Nityanath, the one who is always there. We call him Sri Guru also in our tradition. Without, and after that Machendranath and Gorakhnath. Gorakhnath the most, because he travelled far and wide in those days and spread the message of the yoga, practice of yoga. The whole science of yoga might have gone underground, because there was a section of people who spread the idea that you can attain the truth simply by reading and understanding. You don't have to do anything. No, this is not true. Then in which case anyone who does nothing can reach there. I was also associated with J. Krishnamurti for some time. People say there are people who fall into the category of Krishnamurtite also. Say that if you know, understand, immediately you will get it. Please remember that J. Krishnamurti himself went through tremendous sadhana in his younger stages of life. After that he said that is a different matter. We have done nothing. And believe me, I have been personally seeing this. You can put it on record, nobody is going to deny it. Every morning, even at the age of 90, he did his asanas and his pranayama. He had the humility, of course, to ask even younger people, is it okay, is it right, wrong? That's a different matter. So, this is the reason why first of all, because I belong to it, even though I don't have the external paraphernalia. Because from my understanding, a Natha is one who has touched the truth and who has control over all the elements in his body and the outside world also. This is a Natha. He is also called an Avadhuta, as was said by Dr. Garoti. Now, that truth which the yogi seeks has been defined as Jnatam, Jnatavyam, Praptam, Prapaniyam, Shinaha, Chetavya, Klesha, Karma Bandhanani, Shidilani. It means that which when one's known, everything is known. There is nothing more remaining to be known. That which one's prapti is there, nothing else is to be made, needed to be caught or got. When all the kleshas and impurities have been removed, all the karma bandhanas are gone, that is the aim of yoga. Now, then they ask, so why do we have to stand on our head or bend our legs to be free of all this? What has that to do with the Supreme Being? I have just started by saying that unless and until we develop other organs of perception, which are intimately connected with our ductless glands which are in our system, there is no way you can look beyond the ordinary logic of the mind. This limited, finite mind cannot grasp that infinite. It is out of question. So there has to be heightened perception, and for that, the asanas and pranayam and so on, leave alone dharana, dhyana and samadhi, which is in the end, are meant to stabilize the body, make it healthy, make, like it is said, as Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita, pranapana samayukta. The prana and the apana have to be made equal through pranayama. Or it is also meant to open these centers which are the other instruments of perception in our system, which in the Siddhanta Paddhati have been referred to as the adharas and chakras. Now, this process is the process of yoga, and they are interlinked in some way with the glands in our system which are called the ductless glands. There is another name for them. Anybody? Doctor? Endocrine system. So, you all know that the master gland that sits on the top is the pituitary. Then there is the thyroid. Then there is the adrenal glands. There are many glands which, even though the minute amount of chemical they send into the bloodstream, the moods can change. Now, the yogis were very scientific. They invented methods by which these can actually be physically manipulated and made to give the exact amount that is necessary. Which is why it is necessary to have a teacher for yoga. You cannot simply read a book and start practicing. It's okay if you don't have a teacher. You have a teacher because it may either go excess or it may not be enough. You wouldn't know when you start out. So, now I want to also refer to something before we go forward. There is one little gland which is like a small green chili just above the pituitary, touching almost the limbic system of the brain, called the pineal gland. Till several years it was thought to be a vestige organ which is of no use, like the appendix. And then a few 25 years ago, scientists came up with the understanding that it controls the sleep patterns, sleep rhythms. When you switch off the lights, when you put on the curtains, you go to the pineal gland, puts a little bit of melatonin into your bloodstream. You feel very comfortably asleep. Today, if you travel by jet and come back, you have what is called jet lag, because your circadian rhythm is disturbed. So what do? You buy melatonin tablets and pop them in and you're okay. Not a good thing to do. You should actually allow the mind to adjust and slowly come back to normal, because it's controlled by the pineal gland. 90 years ago, Swami Vivekananda pointed out, even before this was discovered, that this pineal gland is a very important part of the system. And look at this. The adharas and the chakras of the yogic system are very near the... I'm not saying the chakras are these, no. They are valves of energy. They are not this, but they are very near these particular glands and particular plexuses of the nervous system, which bring about a change in our mood, change in perception, and change in understanding. Now, the pineal gland plays an important part in sleep. Sleep is Sushupti. Fortunately, Sushupti is one that is supposed to be closest to Turiya. Of course, you cannot go to Turiya by sleeping. That's not what I mean. That will be wonderful. You need to just sleep. But that's not true, because in Sushupti we rest. In deep sleep we rest because we are not aware that we exist. We therefore are not aware that your enemy exists. If you don't know that you exist, how would you know that your enemy exists? So there is no world for you, which is why we are happy in deep sleep. When you wake up, it starts again. Now, Samadhi state or Turiya, now there are many forms of Samadhi, you must be knowing, at least people who read, who understand yoga. There are so many, Savikalpa, Nirvikalpa. The alternate state of consciousness, which is apart from waking, dream and deep sleep, is closest to the sleep state because it has all the elements of sleep plus one, awareness. That is not there in deep sleep. So it's so interesting that the pineal gland which controls sleep is very close to what we call the stem of the Sahasrara chakra. See this, the similarities in these matters. So this is the importance, and it is the Nath Sampradaya who prevented these scriptures and texts from going into oblivion. While even the Jains are very seriously into Ashtanga Yoga, because they don't believe in God, for instance, but they believe in purification of the soul and the movement and reaching nirvana. And Ashtanga Yoga is a very important. You see all the Tirthankaras, they all sit in Padmasana, and all the chakras which are there are marked on their bodies in different places. The Buddha is supposed to have revolutionized everything and said we don't want any authority. But have you seen the Buddha in most cases except in Padmasana? Tell me. In fact, so much so that in the West it's called the Buddha pose. They have forgotten that it has gone from this ancient land, and before that, Gorakh, Matsyendranath, Adinath, Sadashiva himself sit in Padmasana. Once I went to the United States in Wisconsin, we had a subject given to me was Ashtanga Yoga. So I just wanted to ask, so I asked some people, do you know who the founder of Ashtanga Yoga? They said, B.K.S. Iyengar. No disrespect meant to Iyengar. He was a great man. He popularized yoga throughout the world. So, now we won't go into the age of Gorakhnath because it's quite ancient. I would like to mention Nityanath because Nityanath is considered to be Adinath himself, a yogi who always is when everything else is gone. And we in our parampara refer to him as Sri Guru. You can also see the name of Nityanath mentioned in the Hatha Yoga Pratipika. In the Hatha Yoga Pratipika, he is also supposed to be a person who wrote the wonderful book called Indrajala Tattva. He is also called Nityananda, Nityapada, Dhyaninath and so on. He is also the author of Rasaratnakara, which is a study how to keep the body in good health, kaya kalpa. Not kaya of the skin only, which there are clinics now, but kaya kalpa, which is keeping the body. Because the idea of Gorakhnath also, you'll see that when you read Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati, at one point the body becomes so subtle and clean that it loses its quality of a body and it becomes ethereal. Now, the important textbooks of Gorakhnatha, you all know, I don't have to tell you, most of you know. I sometimes feel a little ashamed that I'm standing before people who know these things. One, of course, is Goraksha Shataka, well known, where the practice of yoga is given step by step. There is a Goraksha Samhita. Of course, the chief text which we can look in very methodically, as Dr. Garote said, is, and also referred to by Yogi Ramanath, is the Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati. Every Nath goes through the Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati. Because it is not just a theory, it's a Paddhati, it's a way. Then there is the Yoga Bija, Yoga Martanda, Amaruga Prabodha, and so on, and many texts. Now, Machendranath also is attributed to be the author of one text which is followed by the Tantra Margis of the Kaula Marga. Please don't think that we are talking about something which is not supposed to be talked about. People have many misunderstandings about the Kaulachara. They think it is something to do with orgies in the middle of the night in the cremation ground. This is only one way of Kaula. It's not the whole. This is not the essence of Kaula. Kaula Jnana Dharnaya is supposed to have been authored by Machendranath, where the Panchamakaras are discussed, including the Kulananda Tantra, which refers to the Kula Kundali and the different ways and means to awaken. Now, I just noted down some points. The Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati, some people have still doubts whether it was Gorakhnath or someone else. But it's 100%. I believe always what my Shurnath Babaji, my Guru, said. So it's definitely Gorakhnath who is the author of the Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati. Because he also starts in Sanskrit by saying Adinatam Namaskritya Shakti Yuktam Jagat Guru Vakshe Gorakshanath Oham Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati. I, Gorakshanath, salute all this. I am the author of this book. Now, this was referred to early. I just go briefly to my 40 minutes. It has 6 principal heads, sections, which are referred to as the Upadesha. As per Adesh, it's Upadesha. One is called the Pindotpatti, which is the origin of the body. When you say body, here it means not only the physical body of the human organism, but also the body of this entire earth, Prithvi, and beyond, planets also included. So it's not, Pinda is not only limited to this human body. It means the entire body of the cosmos, where all the planets and different planes are similar to the chakras that the human body has. Then you have what is known as the second Upadesha, which is Pinda Vichara. It is in the Pinda Vichara section that the study of the chakras and adharas and lakshyas and vyomas appear. What are the centers called chakras? These chakras or these adharas are what have to be awakened by the yogi with the guidance of the teacher. We are not discussing technique here. So that the other instruments of perception other than the panchendriyas are activated, so that your inputs and data become much more than you normally have, and therefore your understanding of consciousness becomes multidimensional. This is the Pinda Vichara. Now, as Ramanath ji said, it is as in the Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati, 9 chakras are mentioned. Normally we mention only 7 chakras. Now of these extra 2, one is supposed to be at the root of the tongue, and the other is between the Sahasrara and the Ajna. 2 more have been made. That is not to go into much controversies, because there are many centers in the system, about which 7 are considered to be the central, that's it, from the Muladhara to the Sahasrara. And in Pinda Vichara, a word has been used, Kaya Siddhi. Kaya Siddhi is what I discussed just now, which is slowly and progressively the body dematerializes and becomes a spiritual body, which means even the very physical cells of a yogi who practices and whose energy has awakened undergoes a change. It's not only psychic and mind-wise, even the cells. So this happens through the Guru's instruction. You will see that every chapter gives a lot of importance to the instruction coming from the Nath. The third one is called Pinda Samviti. This is a complete discussion on the insight into the body. What is the body? How is it made? What are the tattvas that have gone into it? And what is its connection with the universe? And how to re-establish this connection of our individual tattvas with the tattvas in the universe. Then comes the fourth part, which is called Pinda Adhara. Pinda Adhara deals with the fact of the Kundalini, which is the universal energy or Shakti, which after having done its work resides in the human system in the Muladhara, Mula Adhara, root foundation, coiled and potential, ready to be awakened. And when this Shakti ascending the Shushumna Nadi, the central channel, reaches the Sahasrara Chakra, there is a union of Shiva and Shakti, and its ultimate essence, then Shiva, who is considered to be the pure and not active aspect, remains in eternal bliss. In fact, another word for Ananda is Shivam. Chidananda Rupam Shivoham Shivoham. So when the yogi reaches that, then he is only in Samadhi state this is possible. Now, we don't stop there. The fifth is called Samarasa Krama, which is perfect unification. Perfect unification means that soon one realizes that there is no difference between the energy and the origin of the energy. There is only the glory of that Shivam everywhere. This again has to happen only in Samadhi, which means one realizes that there is only that and nothing else in this universe. Now, the sixth says, such a one who has come to that state of Samadhi is Davaduta Yogi, and describes his character and conduct. It doesn't stop there. The yogi, after realizing and seeing what his true essence is in Samadhi, comes back to this world, then he is a changed person. That is the criteria for Samadhi. A fool going into Samadhi comes back a wise man. If it is the same fool who is coming back, it is not samadhi. You can have visions taking LSD, doesn't mean anything. So, such a one is called the Supreme Natha, Nityanath, Adinath, Sadashiva. So, my time is up. I bow down to all of you in whom that Supreme Being dwells as the Antaryami, and to the great Gorakhnath, Machendranath, Adinath, Nityanath. Thank you all for inviting me to this. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.